All right, all right, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Clinton Mansfield, and I am the Provoke Coach. I am here with the Provoke Coach podcast, and we have a very, very special gentleman on the phone today who's definitely responsible for a lot of my growth as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, especially a new one when things can be pretty scary. Him and his team actually did my logo, the stampede, right, the Provoke Coach, the rooster, cockadoodle doo. I bring you Aiden Silvers from Wheelistic Web Design. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
It's my pleasure, brother. I appreciate you allowing me to be here, and I look forward to bringing some value to your audience tonight.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, look, man, I want to jump right in. I want to kind of set you up for kind of this company that you've created and still going and still building the team that you have and some of your goals and aspirations. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about, I guess, who you are and what your company is in the present time right now?
Yeah, I'll try to give you the short version, which I always struggle with. I tell my girlfriend, like, I'm very bad at giving 4 to 5 minute descriptions. But yeah, my name is Aiden Silvers. I'm the CEO and founder of Wheelistic Web Design. We are a business development / digital marketing agency. So we do everything that the average digital marketing agency will do, like custom websites, branding, marketing, social media, Google Ads, you name it, right? SEO. But where we kind of go above and beyond is in the business development side of things. So we're more so of a partner to you and your business, and we have clients that will come to us and say, "Hey, Aiden, will you help us integrate these softwares, or help us develop like employee training kits, or SOPs, or help us understand how to identify what a KPI we need." Right, so we go the extra mile in regards to the follow up of what happens after the leads start coming in, after they have a website. We're there to make sure things are streamlined and kind of just be a friend and a business partner in general. I've been in business for 8 years now. We've slowly evolved into what we are today. I started freelancing as a web developer and kind of doing stuff on my own. Very quickly evolved into what we are today. And yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of people, contractors specifically. Right now, we're just in that niche, but I mean, we work with everybody. But we have a lot of people in the green industry, landscaping, lawn care, and we have 7-figure companies that we just come in and do everything for. And then we
Yeah.
also have clients that we'll just do like a business card or a postcard for. Right. So we're here to bring value to everyone, whatever shape or form that comes in.
And I'm glad that you brought that up. I mean, the niche of the green industry, I'm interested to hear, I mean, where did that come from?
It came from being so spread out, working with all different types of people, and never really being able to perfect a system. So we decided to get into a niche. We didn't really know what that was going to be. We tried a lot of different things. The focus was really on local service providers like construction or cleaning services or something in that realm. And then landscaping was just one of them. We fell into there. We joined a lot of communities and really hustled and put in the work and uh, the dedication to developing a reputation in the industry, right? As a authority figure, as someone that could deliver a successful product that actually generates results. We did it for very low cost at first, get our foot in the door, and
Yeah.
then over 3 years' time, we kind of built that brand equity. A lot of
Yeah.
people know who we are in the industry. Word spreads very quickly. I mean, I'm sure as a coach yourself, you probably know a lot of other coaches or people in a similar niche, right? So you can kind of spread the word to them if you found somebody that gave you a top tier solution, you would want them to get a piece of it too,
Yeah.
right? And so that's just the whole concept of a niche, and we fell into that, and we're super grateful for a lot of the people we met along the way, and it's working out way past our expectations.
Yeah, and I know that and I've been following you for a while and watching a lot of your podcasts that you do, and in the industry, in the green industry, you're becoming, kind of that guy, right, and kind of that company to come to. I mean, you're really, rubbing shoulders, essentially, with the right people in that industry. Where's it going? I mean, are you looking to grow even more? I mean, what is really kind of your next step with your business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We talked a little bit earlier about macro and micro goals, which I like to try to categorize things and put them in different boxes. I have long-term goals of very, very big things that are 30 years down the road of having different, I guess, subsidy companies of charity and fundraising and speaking engagements and apparel and all these different things, right? But as of now, our micro goals are really just to continue to establish ourselves as the dominant figure in the green industry. Um, I mean, we're really not even tapping into a quarter of the market, and that's the beauty about a niche. Is a lot of people think like, oh, it's so scarce, there's not as much opportunity, but there really is. There's a lot of opportunity, and there's more than enough for multiple agencies to come in and do so, right? And so we're just going to continue capitalizing on that. Um, really just building up our authority and reputation and our brand equity and letting people know who we are. And then, yeah, in the future, we're going to really try to establish more niches and things like medical and legal fields and whatnot, right? But we really want to perfect this system now and then duplicate that later for other niches. But one step at a time. I mean, to do it right, it does take a lot of time and effort, right? We've been at it for 3 years in
Yeah.
this niche. We've come very
Yeah.
far, but there's still a lot of things to learn and a lot of things to build for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's funny that, a lot of people in a lot of different industries, especially when you're talking about marketing and advertising and even coaching, right? It's so easy to pick up, other clients and other industries and make it duplicatable across different industries because,
Right.
look, you're in the green, in the green space with landscapers. Well, that is, similar to other types of industries. You know what I
Yes.
mean? As
Really.
far as price points, as far as monthly services and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I think it's important, I guess, for people that are listening to understand, what kind of made you, I guess, decide to go into this niche and not just this niche individually, but a niche in
Right.
general. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. I think it was really the doing it for 5 years prior to getting into a niche. We work with a lot of people, and it just never really got to a point to where we developed something, and I was like, damn, I'm so happy that we built this. Right. I know that everything we did was good, but it was never great because
Yeah,
we never got the chance to have trial and error over and over consistently.
yeah,
Right. I mean, when you're building a solution as in depth as ours, you have to go through a lot of trial and error. Right. And so we built a whole marketing campaign or a whole custom website for, let's just say, an e-commerce solution, and then somebody that does I don't know, a shipping business, or they're just so different that the gray area is super gray, right? So it's just
right.
the nuances in between are way different. However, when you're in a niche, there's still the gray area, which is gray always, but it becomes sort of recognizable. So you see the patterns, right? Especially when you're dealing with a local service provider and their customer acts a certain way, the consumer tendencies, right? You
Right.
kind of pick up on what works and what doesn't work. and then over time you craft a really something that is close to perfect, right? Like we said before, you can never really perfect something. It's always evolving, but the closer you can get to it, the higher on a pedestal you can be, and then the more value you can give to people. And so, without being in a niche, it was more so just slinging out solutions in a way that didn't really feel like we were bringing a whole lot of value. It was still giving the person what they wanted, but we, as a biz dev partner, I always wanted to bring something more to the table, right? So with a niche, I'm able to
Yeah.
understand the industry. I mean, I know people from manufacturers to dealerships to the actual business owner to the customer. Like
Right.
I play a role in every part of it now, right? Which allows me to build things in a way that are comprehensive. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if that kind of helps answer your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think people need to hear that. They try to be, the jack of all trades, and they end up being the master of none, like you said, because, your
Yeah,
focus, you're going in, 4 or 5 different directions, right? It's like business owners that try to wear all the hats, unfortunately, at first, sometimes you have to wear every single hat throughout your
yep,
business. But then as time goes on and you evolve and you really figure out where you want to be, I think that's such a powerful thing that you said with really creating this niche. So I guess if we go deeper into this, right? Because obviously you're helping out business owners, not just with digital advertising and marketing.
right.
You and I have great conversations that have nothing to do with the digital impression of my company. But it does have to do with, some provoking, opportunity. Let's go back in time a little bit. How did Aiden grow up? And what are some of the things that maybe kind of led you in this direction of conquering some of these things that people have a tough time conquering?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. There's a lot there, right?
That is.
And again, I'm really bad at keeping it short, so let me do my best here. But I always have been an entrepreneur. I've always had tendencies to think about things in a certain way. As a kid, I was always like, what can I do to make money? How can I do something to generate income? I did a lemonade stand when I was about 13 or so, right? And I convinced a few of my friends around the neighborhood to come set it up with me, right? And so we started off by our house, didn't really do very good. I was like, all right, we need a better location, right? So we decided to go up the street, and there was a grocery store. So we asked them, like, hey, can we set it up in the parking lot? And they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. Only like Girl Scouts, and you got to go through processes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So what we did, we set it up on the curb right outside, right at the entrance of the grocery store. So as soon as everybody
Nice.
came in, we were right there, and it technically wasn't their property, right? Because a buddy of mine lived right behind the grocery store, so it was his curb, right? So we were there, and we would kill it, bro. We would make like $200 a day, and it wasn't because we were selling the best lemonade. It was because me being disabled out there trying to do something, and my one of my best friends was black, right? And we were in an area that a lot of it wasn't the best area, right? A
Right.
lot of low income, um, people would just come through and they'd be like, whether it be a black gentleman that sees another young African American kid doing the right thing in the neighborhood when there's a lot of bad stuff going around, like they
Yeah.
could really appreciate it, right? They're like, dude, look at these kids out here killing it. And then me, like a bunch of rednecks coming through, like, let's go, boy. I throw us some candy and stuff. It's crazy to think back on, man. But so I've always had entrepreneurial patterns in me, right? And so that's what led me to digital. I've always had a love for computers.
Mhm.
At the same time, I don't really have a lot of options being disabled the way I am, right? So I was kind of forced into the digital world. I started just developing websites, building websites for people, uh, very quickly recognizing that I didn't really enjoy building sites. What I enjoyed was helping them develop their business, right? But it took a long time for me to identify that. It was never like clear to me until about 3 years ago or so. Then it became very clear, like, okay, I'm doing more here than just developing a website. So I need to start branding myself like that, which I
Yeah.
did. And kind of here we are today, right? But so
Wow.
it was really my passion and my underlying love to help people and the coinciding entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't have one or the other, this doesn't work,
Right.
right? Both of them coming together, I love building businesses. I love having an impact on others' lives. Therefore, me building business for other people is like a solution for both of those things to come together, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's what I love to do. I do it 7 days a week. Like it's just it truly is my passion, right? It's not like work to me. And I'm sure you can relate to
Yeah.
what you do, right?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Well, and I guess for you, okay, so entrepreneurship started at a young age for you, okay, right? So you wanted to get out there and hustle a little bit, make some money, figuring
Mm-hmm.
out better ways to do things. Let's fast forward, I guess, a little bit from, the lemonade stand. What happened throughout, I guess, your teenage years and stuff like that, that you kind of, I guess, caught the bug for the digital advertising, or how did that happen?
Well, I love that you brought that up because I think it's a very important part of me. Is my teenage years basically all I did was competitive gaming, right,
Hmm.
all the time. So it was a lot of 16-hour, 18-hour days of online competitive one-on-one gaming. And I'm not talking about like checkers or whatever, right? Like
Right.
this was stuff where I had to win. I had a team, we had a group, a clan, if you would, and we would just dominate these games. And
Nice.
so I think that competitive side of me carried over to my entrepreneur tendencies and kind of makes me feel like whatever I do, I have to be the best at it. Right. So growing up, a lot of these different things that I didn't really notice right away, I kind of look back on and identified as parts of my DNA that allowed me to be the person I am today, to not only be into the digital side,
Yeah.
but to be able to do it well and also to be a human being and not a corporate robot, right? I deal with things the way they are
Yeah.
and not try to hide behind, um, I guess, stereotypes or whatever.
Right.
Right? There's a lot of hard, real issues out there that people face, and I'm down to be a part of that with you and help you figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, as far as getting into ads and everything, it really just started with web development and starting to work with people. And the more I did, they were like, man, I really need to do this and that and this and that and this and that. And then it
Yeah.
just came into a total business solution more so than an ads, because if I build a website for someone, they'd say, okay, now how do I get traffic? How do I get clients? How do I get conversions? And instead of saying, well, that's not really my job, I'm just a web developer, I,
Right.
I figured it out, right? And people would always come to me with more and more problems that they needed solved. And me being competitive and being an entrepreneur, let me figure it out. So it slowly, over 8 years, it molded into something like that. And I mean, I'm still going through that today. Like, I don't have it all figured out 8 years later. There's
Right.
no magic pill. I'm very far ahead of where I was. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's crazy the growth that we've had, but there's still huge mountains to climb, and they'll
Right.
forever scale. They'll continue to get bigger and bigger.
Now, so I guess, growing up, I mean, talk to me, I guess, a little bit about, the influences that you had in your life. I mean, great parents that, sounded like they let you play video games all the time, which I'm interested to hear. I'm interested to hear
Right.
about that. My daughter's into a lot of games, as a lot of kids are now. It sounds like they were pretty supportive. Were they entrepreneurs themselves, or?
It's that's something I haven't really thought about too much. So I don't think I've really had a huge influencer on my life as a person, more so of adversity being the influencer.
Yeah.
So, my 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 mom and dad had a divorce when I was very young. We were doing very well when I was, a child, about 4 years or so. Doing very well financially. We had a ranch and just killing it, right? And then had a divorce, and things went so well for about 10 years after that.
Yeah.
My dad, single dad, trying to raise me, somebody who needs 24/7 attention. Like, I can't even lift my hand, right? So he has to work, send me to school, and take care of me, and very difficult, right? To pay the bills. And he was a hustler too. He was out there doing auto detailing and 2 or 3 jobs. So I think I have a gene from him, something
Right.
just in our blood, right? But I think the adversity of seeing us grow up and seeing him struggle to pay the bills and just getting heartbroken by different people over and over, it's very
Yeah.
tough. And it just showed me that I guess a level of gratitude for things, which
Yeah.
allows me to just really appreciate what we have, and then everything else that we obtain along the way is just like superb, right?
Yeah.
That's like super celebration. Um, so I think just the influencer of adversity allowing me to perceive things in a way to be grateful for them and not feel a sense of entitlement, more so a drive to go out there and get it myself, is a key part of who I am. Like, even as a young teen, we would need to do like fundraisers and benefits and things for a wheelchair, to pay for me for a wheelchair, and I would hate it. I'd be like, I'm just going to do this myself, right?
Right.
Which is unrealistic as a teen. Like, what am I going to do to obtain 10 grand to buy a wheelchair, right? But it's just in my DNA that I didn't want to accept handouts or whatever. I wanted to prove that I could do it better than everybody else could, despite my hindrances. Because I
Right.
never really looked at myself like, oh, I can't do this or that. I've never had that perspective. But I don't know if that's just natural to me because I've been disabled my whole life, or maybe that's just a part of, like I said, the gene that me and my dad have to go out there and get it.
Right.
But yeah, it's really interesting to think about that for sure.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I think that, it's either a provoking situation or provoking time, a provoking person. There's always something that kind of changes, the trajectory a little bit about, where we end up, right? And that continues to change over time. It really does. Now, I mean, and let me just ask you this, most people that, you know, like in your situation, do you think that the adversity that you have throughout your life and with your disability, do you think that you created and I don't want to say superpowers, but I am like a super geek when it comes to comic books, so I'll just say it. Did you, because your articulation and the way that you communicate is so strong, in comparatively speaking to most people that I come across. I mean, is that what you attest? I mean, do you think that where you lack in one area of your life, you just like gained in others?
So yeah, I apologize. I was on mute here.
Yeah, no worries.
For a second. Yeah, I would absolutely say that. I would say that. I mean, I tell people all the time, my disability is a blessing in disguise because it's allowed me to limit my options, right? So I'm not really able to go out and party and chase the girl and play the
Right.
sport and tear my ACL and ruin my career of football and then all my hopes and dreams and depression, right? All and drug and just all the bullshit.
Right.
Although it did sort of put me in a box, and that can also be very difficult on mental health too, right?
Yeah.
But I think with the competitiveness and the adversity and the drive, it allowed me to escape that and find something that I'm able to focus on and build, right? So I think the average person it isn't necessarily the recipe for success, but I'm a strong believer that adversity is that starting point of like lighting that fire in order to push you in the right direction. I mean, you have a lot of talented people out there that are insanely talented and could be great, but they've never had the adversity to drive them and push them further, right? And so for me, there's dozens of things that have shaped me and if on the surface look like a negative, but on the inside have developed an extreme positive, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, just like I said, being disabled, not having a lot of options. I mean, I could sit there and play video games and chill for my whole life, right? But a part of me just, whenever I'm not doing something productive, I get very depressed. And that's just me being self-aware. Like it's
Yep.
very it's very extreme. Now, if I take a weekend off, my mindset is just messed up. It's not right. So I'm just constantly doing big productive and looking to build something and trying to, especially now, right? Because I have a staff of 15. Like I have a girlfriend. I'm trying to build a family eventually. Like there's a lot of pressure on my shoulders. So every second that I'm not doing the right thing to sort of meet that hero archetype that I built for myself is a wasted second. And
Right.
time is very precious, right? I've learned that time is the most valuable currency, especially when you have very little of it, very little free time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, in short, I would say my disability, my adversity, my childhood, my upbringing has all allowed me to very quickly identify things that would take the normal person 30, 40 years to recognize. And by that time, you're either afraid. Well, there's really two scenarios. You're afraid to take the leap, and you say, "I'm already 40. It's too late," or you just execute on it. Right? Obviously, the ones that execute will win, but that's a real insecurity as you get older. Is like how much time here do I really have left to play with it. So I'm really blessed and grateful to have found a lot of the key building blocks to life very early, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
only 26, so pretty
Right.
interesting to think about.
Well, yeah, and there's, look, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now that are, I know that, either my age group, which I'm in my early 40s, or even older, that I am, that, I think you're right. I think you get distracted with life, and right, you get all these other, I guess in the real world sense, KPIs, right? But they're not the ones that you really should
Right,
care, right? They're not
right,
really the key performance indicators. They're just the distractions. So you're right. I mean, I think that you were blessed with the ability to have that kind of fast forward through some of that stuff. But you're
yep,
right. I mean, time is of the essence. So, wow, you found that very quickly in your life, and I think that is definitely humbling to hear you say that, because you're right.
right.
Um, in a lot of senses. Well, and let me ask you this. I mean, how have you really kind of taken, your personal journey into this kind of a role of a motivator? because I'm usually the motivator when I meet people. I'm usually the catalyst that gets them fired up and all that.
Sure.
But I mean, one conversation with you really kind of opened my eyes a great deal, and that's why you're here. In a lot of cases. But what made you turn on to this self-motivation, and what made you really kind of be a student of that?
So that's a great question, and I appreciate that. By the way, it means a lot. It's not something that I really said I was going to do or plan to do, and I still really am not doing it. Like I'm just being myself, and it's very difficult because when you say like personal journey and business journey, my personal journey is my business journey. Like I don't do business because I want the money or something else. Like it's just what I want to do. Right. So it's directly intertwined with my personal life. And so, I mean, let's face it, being disabled and being so young and me being who I am, a lot of people are just attracted to me for whatever reason. And they're drawn to me and they're looking for something. And so, like we talked about before we went live here, I think it's very important. Part of what I'm doing is trying to just give context of what I do and then allowing the consumer of the information to perceive that in their own way and kind of shape that into maybe inspiration or provoking the drive or whatever it is for that person, right? Because I can't necessarily sit here and speak to 10,000 different people and reach every single one of them, and I'm not even going to try to. So I'm just going to continue developing my life and sharing and documenting how I got there in the process. And hopefully a lot of people can align with that and get some value from it and maybe give them a shortcut or speed things up a little bit or give them some type of kick in the butt. Like I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't go out of my way to do it. It's just more so of who I am as an individual and just part of my DNA. And I always love having an impact on people's lives, and that's a part of why I am in business development is developing businesses for people as a direct impact on their life, right? I mean, we work with a lot of small business owners who, if we take them from 100,000 a year to 300, that's huge for them and their family, and their employees and their families, right? So it's a direct impact on them, and eventually I want to get into things that are like this at scale. Lots of podcasts, lots of content creation, lots of speaking engagements, and to be able to bring some real value to people. But before I do that and jump into it, instead of just being that dude who's disabled, trying to inspire people, I want to be the guy who's disabled, inspiring people because he built something hugely successful. And it shows, right? I want tangible results, not just, hey, look at me, listen to my thesis, and goodbye, right? Like, I want practical things to deliver. So that's kind of where the phase I am right now is just building this monster machine that I can showcase later. And it's definitely taking its sweet time to do so.
Right. Well, anything that you build does take time. I mean, you've been in business now for what, 9 years now?
It's very close to 9 years, yeah.
Yeah.
In August, it'll be about 9 years. And just to give some insight to everybody, the first 5 years or so was always 20,000, 50,000 gross. Gross revenue in 2019, year 7, we hit 90,000, which was like huge, record breaking for us. And then in 2020, we hit $250,000 in gross revenue, which is like 3 times in 12 months. And so it doesn't happen overnight. And the $250,000 right now for me is nothing because I see the opportunity out there and I see the vulnerability in the market and I see the practicality of scaling, right? So in the next 24 months or so, I am very confident that we'll be a $1 million agency. And but that being said, the first 6 years were just horrible. Like right,
Right.
like struggles, lots of struggles, and lots of perspective. And who I was 6 years ago, it's totally different. You
Right.
know, like when I hit 90,000 in 2019, I thought I was king of the world. You know, 2020 we hit a quarter mil, and I feel like I'm nobody. So it's very, very big mindset shifts.
Yeah.
But I'm here for the ride. So
That's awesome, man. Dude, that's so great to hear, but it's so true and it's so honest because, look, you can, and I see a lot of this and you probably see it, in the world of especially social media now. There's a lot of people out there that, they flex that they're kicking ass, driving the nicest cars and,
sure,
and buying this and buying that and all that kind of stuff. And that's good. Whatever motivates somebody, by all means, that's fantastic. But it's hard for them to speak about how long it took them to get there, right? They talk about the whole
right,
overnight success. They didn't tell you about the 12 years that they failed, right?
sure,
Or they messed up 2 or 3 businesses prior to that, right? They're only showing and flexing, that winning, that trophy right
right.
now. And that's so good for you to hear that because people need to hear that it's going to suck for a
Well, I
while.
honestly,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that is just fake. It's not real.
Sure. Yeah.
There's insecurities are a real struggle in society.
Yep.
I mean, I have my own insecurities, and I face them all the time, and it
Yep.
makes us do really weird things. Right?
Yeah.
I've become really good recently at acknowledging and being very self aware of my insecurities, and when something is happening, and I'm
Yep.
making a decision, I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I'll audit my insecurities, and I'll be like, yo,
Yep.
like you got 10 projects that you're working on, some of them are behind, you're super stressed and pressured,
Yep.
but you have 30 more years to go with this.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to deliver the perfect world to these people right away.
Right.
And so that just takes weight off my shoulders, but it's the insecurity of not being good enough that leads to that,
Yep.
right? But you just gotta roll with everything as it comes, be ready for it, love the process, and if I fail somebody, I'm gonna make it up to them. Like
Yeah.
if I say I'm gonna build a website for you in 8 weeks, and then I'm 4 months into it and it's not finished, I'll give you the website and develop a whole marketing campaign for you just because I want you to do good, and it's my fault that you're delayed, right? So it's like insecurities are something that go unnoticed very often.
Yeah.
I do my best to audit them when I acknowledge and see them come up.
Well,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
and
When it could be anything, right? As far as insecurities, but I think that what happens is you identify them, and then there's that self doubt, and then there's that inner
yep,
voice that kind of like you said, you're auditing, and I'm so glad that
yep,
you use that term because it's something everybody can relate to. It's like, look, have you done your checks and balances? Have you really looked at like how is this making you feel right now? And
right,
you're right. People take things so seriously now. It's with social media and even with the
yeah,
news and media out there. We all know how things can get blown up very quickly,
hmm,
right? Very
yeah.
quickly. So
There's a lot of emotions. I mean, we're emotional creatures, right? But we're also creatures of intelligence and the ability to cognitively break things down. So we
yeah,
can't forget that. We have to always remember that we have the ability to identify why something isn't working, what insecurity you're having, why you're having that insecurity is because like your childhood, or maybe you want X amount of money for X reasons, right? You have to figure these things out in order to really, truly develop yourself which in turn just develops everything else around you. Your business, your relationships, your marriage, your children's upbringing, everything, right? And so another part of what you're mentioning of like there is a percentage of people that are flexing on social media or whatever, and they have built something successful over 13 years so or whatever. But the reason they're flexing is because they have insecurities too. They want attention and they want affirmation and recognition, and right. Otherwise, why would you be doing such a thing unless there was motive behind it to get you to do it, right? But in most cases, there's not. It's just people. Like, money doesn't fix everything, right? It fixes very little at the end of the day, and a big, I guess, back to influencer that I've come across recently over the past few years is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's been like
he's awesome.
a huge, yeah, he really is. He's really allowed me to like. He says a lot of things that when I read it, I've been like, oh, that's what my gut feeling was when I saw that post or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So he's allowed me to. He's put things into words that I've felt.
Yeah.
In ways. And so he says the whole thing of like, you know, I'd rather cry in my Ferrari or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's all great until you're suicidal with a gun to your head, right? Because now you have money, but you still have issues. And now what? Now you really have to dig deep.
Yeah.
And so money doesn't fix really anything. Money is just a multiplier of who you are. So personal development is huge, and I'm getting into that recently. Doing my best, you know.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's an ongoing battle always, right? I mean, it's you against you. You're your biggest competition, and it's always a work in progress. Well, I mean, and I guess let me ask you this as well, Aiden. Talk to me, I guess, just a little bit, before we get off. I mean, what has this done for the culture of your company? Because you've grown pretty quickly just recently. I mean, you're running what, 15, 20 people deep now? Is that right?
Yeah, we're at about 15 staff.
Nice.
Culture is huge for me.
Yeah.
The more we grow and the more we scale, it excites me because, again, not the monetary value, and of course, everybody's working for a reason, right? We're doing it to make money to do things. For me, though, what excites me is the ability to have more resources to scale our company and build the culture, hire more people, maybe take some pressure off of somebody who's wearing 5 different hats and now they have to wear 3. And so our culture is super friendly. I mean, all we're about is bringing value consistently to everyone. And we're going to make mistakes, but we're going to fix them too. And I even have it in our contracts, like, hey, we're not perfect. We're going to have errors all over the place, but we're going to fix them double time. Right. And so whenever, for example, we just had a really big project get postponed a little bit from delays and bugs popping up in the development and blah, blah, blah. Right. And so it's fine. It's like it happens all the time. This is just real. This is real life. Instead of treating it like a corporate machine, I'm a real person, and I'm going to go to the client and say, "Hey, super sorry, we're delayed 2 weeks. What can I do to make it up to you? Right? Can I refund you your money and then give you the product too? Like, what do I need to do to make this work?" And so that's something that we'll never lose. Is that human element? I mean, we're very close, super good friends with the very high majority of our clients, and like they'll call me at 3 o'clock in the morning just because they know I'm up, and like we're just hustling. We're just in the same community and networking, and I mean we're just people at the end of the day, trying to do what we do. And so I try to make sure that is never forgotten.
Yeah. Well, and they have a good leader, right? I mean, as long as you stay, on your path, everybody else, that surrounds themselves, around you, it's just going to really bleed in. I mean, your attitude is very infectious, my brother. I mean, I'm just so stoked now. I mean, been getting messages this entire 45 minutes that this guy is awesome. So I can't really wait for everybody to listen to this. And I really appreciate you coming on board, and we'll do more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say that's something that I've picked up here in the last year or so. Maybe this will give some value to your audience. Is being a leader is all my staff. I work for them. They don't work for me. I work for them. I do my best to identify what their goals are in life, figure out what they need to do to be happy, and I will do everything in my power to position them to do that. Because then they're going to be the best person and their best self. And then we're really doing some damage, right? Now we're really executing and working and hustling and being productive, and everybody's happy and healthy and blah, blah, blah. People first, right? Take care of your people, and then they'll take care of you. So that's really my number one goal, is to build a company that can scale and take care of its people at mass.
Yeah.
And it's worked very well, obviously, with triple growth in 12 months. So maybe give it a shot.
Yeah, well, and that's tremendous insight, because you're absolutely right. I mean, when you build things, it comes from a lot of love. And I can tell the company that you built, has just, it's woken up the fire in your belly to get you to be staying up all night and really working on, your client success and the growth of your company. Is that, look, you got now 15 mouths to feed. So it's not just the Joe anymore, right? It's not just, those struggling couple of years you were by yourself, it's something.
It's nuts. It really is nuts, man. And it's like, I'm so grateful too, because we've had 3 or 4 employees that were working with other companies full-time, working with us part-time. They were making much higher salaries with them, and they've all of them have quit and come over to us full-time for a lower salary, which really says something, right? Like it really is. I take it to heart. Like it's just insane that somebody would sacrifice their goals and their monetary gain to do things that they want in their life in order to help me build something.
Yeah.
Right? So they obviously really believe in it, and I must be doing something right, but I want to continue to try to figure out how to do it better and better.
Yeah.
And I'm just feeling the love from everybody, and it's super great, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And really, for the people that are not watching the video, I just want you to be able to tell these guys, kind of where to find you and your company and your team, where you at on social media. That way we can just have our audio clients and people listening in know where to go to find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me and Clinton down at the strip club this weekend.
Hey, now my wife's watching this.
She can come too. No, so you can find me on just Google Wheelistic Web Design. It's my company. You spell it WHEELISTIC, Wheelistic Web Design, or just look me up on Facebook, Aiden Silvers. Give me a shout. I got an open door policy, so everybody and anybody can hit me up. We can chat about whatever. And that's usually how our business starts to develop, is we just chat with people and they say, hey, I have this issue. What do you think about it? And we kind of go back and forth, and I give them some ideas, and they either really appreciate that and do it themselves and then recommend me later, or they just hire me to do it. So it's a win-win for everybody at all times. So yeah, awesome. no consultation fees, none of that crap yet. Not yet, anyways.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The scale will come, right? The scale will come.
It already has. I'm just limiting my consultations or whatever for a day or 2 a week for now, but eventually that'll blow up too big. So
Awesome. Well, thank you again. It's been an awesome journey this last 45 minutes, man. We're going to do a lot more of it. And for everybody that's listening up, essentially right now, remember why we do this. We do the Provoke Coach podcast to really share provoking stories of people that have made it and people that are successful and people that have really kind of figured life out and are continuing to grow. So, Aiden, I do definitely appreciate everything as far as insight that you provided for us. You gave us some awesome nuggets, and hey, man, that's going to be awesome. And we'll see you all next week as well. I appreciate it.
Man. Let's see you again sometime. Later.